And why are these important? Why do we use learning objectives? Effective lessons are built on learning objectives that ensure students are taught concepts and skills, as opposed to just filling out information that would pertain to that information. Clear learning objectives make students more successful because it makes them more accountable. We have to focus our teaching efforts on what we want them to learn and on the specific concepts and skills needed for the practice that they're going to do at the end on their own. Learning objectives are important because it allows us to measure if students got what we taught them. Learning objectives tell students what they are expected to do. It is important that students are clear on what the lesson is about and what they are expected to do by the end of the lesson in their independent practice. Correctly designed, standards-based learning objectives ensure that lessons are on grade level, which is critical in order to raise their achievement and especially on their state tests. So the components of a properly designed learning objective, really it has three. A learning objective contains the concepts, which are the main ideas of the lesson, the skills, which is what you would measure, and sometimes the context, which might be a restricting condition that describe what the students will be able to do successfully and independently by the end of the instruction. Before we go into each of the three steps, I would like for you guys to take one of your standards and break it down into a learning objective. And that way, when we're going through the three steps, you guys can kind of look at your objective and see if it contains all the parts that I'm talking about in this lesson today to make sure that we're all on the right track. So if you can just take one of your standards, break it down into an objective. You can write it down or you can just have it in your head. I'm going to give you guys just a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll go through the three parts. Standards, but do you have a standard from your class? Can't think of one. Something that you taught in your class that you can use as a learning objective? Yes, that's all I'm asking you to do. Right. Right. In case I was confusing, I'm just asking you to write a learning objective. What would you write on your board if you were getting
Oh, that's good. Video. That's what we did today. Oh, yeah.
You want to make sure that it has a concept. And the concept is the main idea of the learning objective. So whatever you wrote down or whatever learning objective you're thinking about, try to think about what the main idea of your learning objective is. It's usually, but not always, a noun. And an example of a learning objective is write a summary of a newspaper article. So summary would be the concept of that learning objective. Another every verb should actually be avoided when you are making your own learning objectives in your class.
So how would you change that if you were gonna?
If I was going to change that, instead of read, maybe change it to, write about the characters that they read about in the story, to be able to write some adjectives about them, or to be able to describe what they do for a leisure activity, instead of learning vocabulary for their leisure activity. So change it to something that you could measure. Another component of a properly designed learning objective is still the skill. The skill in the learning objective, it should always teaching the learning objective to the student. You want to tell the students before the lesson is taught, and I think that for the most part, that we all do that. We have it usually written somewhere on our board, and then we usually tell the class, or at least we're supposed to, and then somewhere throughout the lesson, we remind them what we're doing that day, what the lesson is about, what we're covering. But you want to make sure that you tell them what they're going to learn and check for understanding, not of the objective itself, but check for understanding that they understand what you're asking them to do that day. So you want to make sure that they understand that they're going to have to write something, or that they're going to have to summarize something or identify, so that before the lesson ever starts, they'll know exactly what's expected of them. To teach the learning objectives to students, do not write the content standard on the board as a learning objective. But you do want to present the learning objective and have some student interaction and check for understanding. So you want to have it on your backboard, you want to say it to the students, you might want to have them repeat the learning objective back to you, and you want to make sure that they understand the three concepts of the learning objective, that they know exactly what they're going to have to do by the end of class in their independent practice.
Is that it?
That's it.
So, this was part of our direct instruction book, and next faculty meeting, we will be covering the next chapter, and I can't think off the top of my head what it is. I know we did check for understanding learning objectives, I think, prior knowledge. Mr. DeForest, is it prior knowledge? Okay. So there was another team, that got together for the next chapter to present. So basically, just make sure, when we're going into classrooms, of course, on your evaluations, you have your standards and objectives for your evaluation piece, and for your walkthroughs as well. We're going into a lot of classrooms, and as Ms. Casey said, 99% of the classrooms have those posted. I'm having a hard time seeing if they're updated, because a lot of times we don't have our dates on there. So if I sit in the room for a while, sometimes I can catch on, oh yes, but there's been some times that I go in and I'm like, I'm not quite sure if maybe the lesson kind of went to the side a little bit based on student learning, and maybe we needed to stop. So if you wouldn't mind, put the date on there so I'll know that, yes, this is in fact the learning objective for the day. And just as a reminder, we want to introduce that lesson, telling the kids what we want them to learn, what we expect for them to learn, when we hit it again casually as you're teaching, and then again at your closing. So you're going to have your I can statement somewhere posted with the date, in friendly terms, as she was saying. You wouldn't post that big, long objective that comes out of our state standards. You're going to break those pieces down and just make sure that they're visible as somebody comes into the classroom. All right, so just make sure that we're writing it, and we want to verbalize it as well with our kids.
And the book also said to have them say it back to us, so that we know that they understood what we are wanting them to do for the day, so that it's helpful to check for understanding of the objective from the students.
All right, nothing else? We were a little bit late getting started over on the rec today. There was a wreck this morning, there was another one about the interstate, that's why the buses were all late. Mr. Davis did come in today, and he was very pleased with everything that was going on in the building, so, that was a good thing, because we didn't know anything. We didn't get ready for him, but we were doing great things. All right, anybody else?
What's the election tomorrow?
Yeah, that's tomorrow. It's gonna take like 2 seconds. If you wouldn't mind going down there, we'll just do it downstairs at the computer lab. It's on paper. There's a ballot box. So I think there's like 4 questions on there. 2 seconds. Like, just go down there, check it off, throw it in the ballot box, and it'll be done. I tried to do it today, but they want them done tomorrow.